Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of PeaceLines podcast, brought to you by the London Region CND, Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. CND says no to nuclear weapons, no to war, and yes to a peaceful, secure, nuclear-free future. In each episode, we talk to specialists, researchers, campaigners, academics. We might even invite on the odd politician, and they'll be telling you in plain language what's going on in their neck of the woods. I'm Sally Spears, London CND's presenter for today's episode, and I'll be talking to Angie Zelter, a founder member of the Lakenheath Alliance for Peace. We're going to be talking about American nuclear warheads coming back to British soil for the first time in 17 years, and the activities of the Lakenheath Alliance for Peace, what they're doing to get rid of them. Now, I'm going to describe our guest as a grande dame of campaigning and political activism. She's also a writer and the recipient of awards for her contribution to the peace and environmental movements. She's demonstrated a persistent and unwavering commitment to these causes, and her protests have led to frequent arrests and sentencing, including spells in prison. She's written about her life of activism in her autobiography, Activism for Life. She's a remarkable woman, and if I might put it like this, a true resistor sister and a one-woman A to Z of activism. Welcome to PeaceLines, Angie, and thanks for joining us. I'll kick off with my first question. Lakenheath is under 80 miles from London, and yet I have found that a lot of people don't even realise it exists. So to start off, Angie, can you please tell us about Lakenheath and what's there?
Certainly, yeah, I'm quite shocked actually how few people know about what's going on at those bases, even people that only live about 5 miles away from it or right on the doorstep. So I'm not surprised, but it's sad. Basically, Lakenheath is a US base. It's the largest Air Force base, US Air Force base in Europe, and it has almost 11,000 US personnel there. Its sister base is Mildenhall, and they're both US bases. The fighter-bomber planes based at Lakenheath are F-15Es and F-35As, and they can be identified by the big LN letters on the tail fin. Both can be used for ground attack or in air-to-air combat. The F-15Es are also known as Strike Eagles and are being used in the Middle East. After the Hamas attacks on the 7th of October 2023, F-15Es from Lakenheath landed at Muwafaq Salti Air Base, a major US base in Jordan, on the 13th of October to bolster the US presence in the region. And since then, it has provided ongoing support to Israel in its military attacks on Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. In my opinion, this makes Lakenheath complicit in war crimes and genocide. Lakenheath often get planes visiting from other bases or passing through to other countries. So there have been planes seen there from other European countries as well as from Israel and Saudi Arabia. In fact, Israeli pilots have been trained at Lakenheath. Over the past 2 decades, warplanes based at USAF Lakenheath have led devastating conventional missions in Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan, Serbia, Libya, Syria, the Middle East, and East Africa. But now Lakenheath faces being involved in nuclear attacks. The 495th Fighter Squadron of the 48th Fighter Wing at Lakenheath became the first squadron in Europe equipped with the new nuclear-capable F-35A Lightning II planes, certified to carry the new B-61-12 nuclear gravity bomb, and recent satellite images indicate that 22 of the nuclear shelters or vaults at Lakenheath are now being reactivated to receive these bombs. We also know that the F-35A fighter jet maintenance and repair facilities at the base have now been completed, and recent announcements of full forward deployment means that nuclear weapons may already have been delivered. We don't really know, because there's always a no, they won't confirm or deny the existence of nuclear weapons anywhere. And that's why it's vital for all of us to go there to Lakenheath, maybe even to go in and do citizens' crime inspections. There's all sorts of opportunities for people to try to find out what's really going on, because when we write to our MPs or we write to the government, they won't tell us what's going on there.
Thank you. It sounds terrifying. But just to be completely clear, Angie, these are US air bases in Britain. So whose finger is actually on the nuclear button? And does Britain have any say in whether they would be fired or not?
No, I don't think we have any say at all, actually. And at the moment, it's Trump's finger on that button, unfortunately. I mean, these US bases, they're called RAF bases, but for instance, at Lakenheath, there is one RAF commander who we actually saw when we launched the campaign, but we never hear from him again. There are 2 US commanders there. And it's considered US land. There's even a little line across the main gate. And if you go over there, you're in American territory. I think that's pretty disgusting, really. We don't know what the hell's going on there, really. But we do know that the UK has very little power over what goes on there. They probably don't even know, mostly, what goes on there.
Yeah, so that leads me very nicely, I think, into my next question. And that is that I heard you speak at the London CND conference when you asked the participants at that conference to prioritise campaigning against the sighting of American nuclear weapons in Britain. Can you just explain to us why it's so important that we should be prioritising this issue?
Basically, we're nearer a World War III than we've ever been before. With the US saying all its nuclear weapons in the whole of Europe need to be shown to the enemy, as if the enemy, whoever the enemy is, don't already know where our nuclear weapons are. They probably know more than we do, actually. I mean, it's incredibly important for us to be at Lakenheath. It's also really important now that all the different movements for social change gather together, and that's what the Lakenheath Alliance for Peace is trying to do, bring the peace and environmental and justice groups together there. Basically, any nuclear conflagration now that the US wants to involve anybody in is going to be fought in and around Europe. So we are the target, and the US won't necessarily be the target because all of the US nuclear weapons are in Europe and they're pointed to Russia. So it makes us a target, but it also means that we have an amazing responsibility to try to do what the hell we can to try and get rid of these nuclear weapons if they're already there, stop them coming in, but also to keep protesting because it's not done in our name.
And presumably we could add, of course, that it's bringing attention to of the British government to the fact that British people do not want American nuclear missiles in our country. Excuse me. So I'll move on to my third question, and that is to ask you about LAP, the Lakenheath Alliance for Peace. I don't even think you've been going that long, and you seem to have had some great achievements already just in the people that you're rallying around you. So can you tell us a little bit about the Alliance and what you're doing and what you hope to achieve?
Yeah, well, we're up to about 58 different organisations, peace, environmental organisations, social justice organisations who have joined the Alliance, all right? And yes, you're right, we've only been going just over a year. But we've got a lot of local support, a lot of support. And actually, if you want to see what the first camp that we did in July is like, if you look at the Lakenheath Alliance for Peace website, you'll see that there's a little film that was made by Zoe, actually, which gives you some idea what it was like at the main gate. Now, in April, we decided we would do 2 weeks to really make sure that people understand that we're there, because we're going to have a 24/7 vigil there, overnight, the whole day, and different people are going to take it on as a rota right by the main gate where all our banners and things will be going, so that all the passers-by on that main road will understand why we're there and how we're there. We're going to be leafleting in the villages and towns around. And we'll have some event days. There's going to be political choirs coming on one day. There'll be a faith day. There'll be a democracy day, because, of course, this isn't a democratic decision. Most people do not want nuclear weapons, and they certainly don't want US nuclear weapons. They understand how dangerous it is not to have any control over what the Americans do with the nuclear weapons at Lakenheath. We've also got a War Crimes and Genocide Day happening on the 21st, because, of course, our government, as well as the US government, are complicit in genocide and war crimes that are going on at the moment by providing arms, by providing all of this weaponry to Israel. So there's a lot going on. There's also a conference. We've got a lot of Europeans coming over who are also facing the same problems of US nuclear weapons being targeted at Russia in their territory. They'll be coming for a conference on the Thursday, the 25th. On the Friday, we're going to have lots of trainings and things to encourage people and help them blockade safely. And then on the 26th, there will be a blockade, the first major blockade that's ever happened at Lakenheath. And it's really important. And hopefully there'll be lots of coaches and people coming down. Now, people don't have to sit in the road to blockade. They can be there as a demonstration. There's plenty of safe areas for them to be, but we are hoping that lots of people will come and will be prepared to blockade. So I hope to see loads of people there.
Fantastic work. And of course, I think it's really worth highlighting that what you said about this is not just a British problem, it's something that's happening in other places in Europe. So when JD Vance says that Britain or that Europe is freeloading on America, maybe we need to turn the tables a little bit on that and point out that they're freeloading on us. So I'm going to just ask you one more question now. And I know, you don't necessarily feel that comfortable with this question, but I think it's really important for people to know that taking action can lead to change. So I'm going to say it like this. I've got a little motto which says it's better to do something than nothing. We often believe that when people get together and they do things collectively, no matter how small their actions are, they can make change happen. Now, you're a woman with many years' experience of non-violent direct action. So I'd like you to think about perhaps an example where your actions and the actions of others have actually led to change. Possibly indirectly, because we're never actually accredited with having made change, of course. But I'm thinking specifically of Greenham Common and the peace camp there in the 1980s, which led to the removal of cruise missiles from Britain. You might like to take that example, or you might have others, but please take an opportunity to inspire us, Angie.
Okay, well, I think everybody is inspired by anybody that takes any kind of action. There are so many activists now in Britain taking action. It's amazing. In fact, when I was doing some research a little while back, apparently Britain probably has more activists in jail than anywhere else per head of population. It's incredible, because our government seems to put away protesters rather than actually taking the real criminals to court. One of the better known actions that I've been involved in that maybe had some impact and encouraged people to go and do similar kind of disarmament actions was when the Seeds of Hope action against the East Timorese genocide was taking place. We disarmed a Hawk jet, British Aerospace Hawk jet, and prevented it from leaving. In fact, Suharto at the time said that it was jinxed because it had been battered with a hammer very safely and non-violently to prevent crime, and we called that disarmament. And we did a little video before we went in, and we talked to the jury, and we had all of the evidence ready for the jury to understand what was going on. And that was really, really important. And the other thing is that we reminded the jury that they had a right to acquit us, regardless of the judge, because the judge wanted to shut everybody up. He was absolutely disgusting when Ramos Horta was a witness and was asked to describe what was going on with these Hawk jets that were killing whole tribes of people in East Timor. And he tried to, the judge, Wacom Wickham is what he was called, because he was such a disgusting judge. He wouldn't let Ramos talk and say anything. And actually, when he went out, I just apologized and said, I'm really sorry that the judge didn't allow you to explain fully the genocide against your peoples, which you can't do if you're a lawyer. And when you self-represent, you can do. So those kind of examples, I think, have helped more and more people, one, defend themselves. Always try and have a lawyer as well, if you've got a group of people, but and also encourage people to take disarmament actions. And the other big action that we got involved with was taking out an essential part of the Trident system up in Faslane. And again, that time we were very lucky. We had a very good judge, and she also found us not guilty, and that got a lot of publicity in Scotland. So the thing is that not everybody is free or able to do direct action, but everybody is able to support it in some way by being legal observers or helping with the press work or witnessing it and supporting it financially. So you need that whole spectrum of people writing letters too and keeping the pressure on the government. The most important thing is for people not to give up hope, not to get depressed. You become part of the problem then. Understand that together we really can make a difference. So come together, support each other, and do whatever you can. So I'm really, really hoping that people will come to Lakenheath for 1 or 2 days, and certainly to get the briefings on Friday and take part in the blockade. That would be great to see as many of you as possible.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Angie. And I'm hoping that you and I will actually meet face to face on the 26th, because I am coming. So we'll wind up now. I'm just going to say a few things to recap. The dates of the Peace Camp at Lakenheath are between the 14th and the 26th of April. There's a packed agenda, including the International Peace Conference, and on the final Saturday, the 26th, blockade of the base. But LAP needs our support. There's loads of information about Lakenheath and the Peace Camp on the Lakenheath Alliance for Peace website, so take a look at that. London CND does have a coach coming, and you'll find a link on the London CND website. So sign up, come along, do your bit for peace and to get rid of American nukes from Lakenheath. So remember, however small it is, it's better to do something than do nothing. And we all feel more powerful for taking some kind of action. Thank you very much, Angie. And let's hope Saturday the 26th goes well.